is dedicated to bringing Parliament closer to you. Earlier on, we received a submission from Ministry of Education, a submission that was made to the expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee. This time around, the next witness is the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, making a submission to that committee, the expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee, which is considering the midterm budget plan 2026 to 2028. Stay tuned to the station dedicated to bringing Parliament closer to you.
It's because of you. Because we are behind time, I will not allow my members to introduce themselves. They will introduce themselves as they ask questions. So you can introduce your team, and then we go into our main program.
Thank you very much, Chair. I do recognize you, and through you all your committee members. My name is Nicholas Piri. I'm the Permanent Secretary in charge of operations or technical services in the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. And joining me are senior staff, and I'll allow them to introduce Director Planning.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Martin Sodala. I'm Acting Director Planning and Information.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, the members of the committee. I'm Engineer Fanizan Piri. I'm the Director, Department of Road Development.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson and members of the committee. My name is David Mushinge. I'm the Chief Accountant in the Ministry. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members of the committee. My name is Axon Haranji, Director of Government Administration.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Roy Chihinga, Acting Director HRA.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members of this committee. I'm Julian Lenga, the Clerk of the House of Chiefs.
Good morning, Chair and the committee members. My name is Gift Muruwa, Assistant Director, Internal Audit in the Ministry.
Thank you very much. P.S. I want to offer you the Cap 12 of the National Assembly, all the laws of Zambia. Under this cap, you are free to interact with the members of the committee, and no one can take you to court based on this cap. However, should you choose to mislead the committee, the same Cap 12 can be used against you, which I don't think will be the case. I will give you 25 minutes in which to take the committee through the submission, and then thereafter members will be allowed to ask questions so that they can clarify certain issues. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Allow me to just give an overview of what the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development is all about. Of course, our mandate is drawn from Government Gazette number 1123 of 2021, which gives us the portfolio functions and our operations. The Ministry's mandate and core objectives basically to facilitate the delivery of quality municipal services and the provision of infrastructure through local authorities with a view to contributing to sustainable socio-economic development at the local level. The Ministry Chair also facilitates rural development, which is a new mandate, additional mandate, and also customary affairs, which is again an additional mandate for an improved quality of life and economic well-being of our citizens, especially in the rural areas. Chair, in view of the comments on the proposals in the 2026 and 2028 medium-term budget plan, the Ministry would like to provide comments as follows. First of all, to appreciate the indicative allocations apportioned to the Ministry, taking cognizance, Chair, of the tight fiscal space that the Treasury is currently operating in. Noting, Chairperson, is the increased allocations towards motor vehicle licensing, construction of chiefs' palaces, grants in lieu of rates, and rural infrastructure. Chair, I want to emphasize the grant in lieu of rates could be a huge source of revenue for local authorities, because by law and by best international practice, all the government departments and buildings are supposed to be paying rates to the local authorities to help it discharge its municipal functions, including not limited to solid waste management and provision of other critical infrastructure. However, the committee may wish to note, Chair, that overall the ministry's allocation has reduced from about 10.5 billion in 2025 to approximately 9.7 billion in 2026, as per indicative figures in the Green Paper, which have since been confirmed in the 2026-2028 budget core circular. The reduction, Chairperson, in allocation will affect key government programs under the ministry, including but not limited to cash for work and the financing gap for the local authorities superannuation fund, among others. Chairperson, the committee may wish to note that allocations to certain key budget lines such as markets and bus stations and the local government equalization fund, which are key for the local governance sector, have remained static for years. The allocation for recurring departmental charges, which are key for the day-to-day operations for the ministry, has also been significantly reduced. Further, Chairperson, the committee may wish to note that the Green Paper has not provided for the following critical allocations. Number one, the stormwater drainages. Currently, the allocation is about 6.5 million. But as of today, Chair, there has been no releases. This notwithstanding, Chair, the fact that a number of contracts have already been signed for the stormwater drainages, and later in the presentation, Chair, I will indicate the implications of this. Capital expenditure allocations towards fire and rescue equipment and infrastructure has also been omitted. Capital expenditure allocations for solid waste management, equipment and infrastructure has also been not accounted for, and monitoring implementation of devolved functions by local authorities. Chairperson, it is anticipated that these allocations will affect us in multiple ways. For the maintenance of the equalization fund at 1.4 billion will lead to failure to meet aggregate local authority wage bill, following the recruitment of more staff in local government service and the signing of new collective agreements, spelling out improved conditions of service for local authority employees. In terms of the omission of stormwater drainage, Chairperson, I wish to indicate that some 10-15 years ago, the Millennium Development Challenge Chairperson did a study of what it needed to drain Lusaka dry, and an indicative figure of $1 billion was apportioned over a period of 5 years, over a period of 25 years, Chair. And the idea was that if we made that investment over a period of 25 years, then we would be able to drain Lusaka dry, eliminate the occurrence of cholera, and also the flooding that affects Lusaka almost on an annual basis. Now, Chair, the omission of this allocation therefore entails that The flooding in Lusaka, especially among other areas, will continue, and the outbreak of waterborne diseases is likely to be an ongoing phenomenon. But also, in addition, there could be possible litigation, penalties and interest claims against the running contracts due to inability by the ministry to be able to finance those contracts as agreed. Chair, the maintained markets and bus stations allocation at 55 million will lead to limited capacity for the ministry to construct new markets and bus stations to support related government pronouncements such as our determination to stop street vending, but also provide decent trading spaces for our citizens for increased economic production and productivity. In terms of solid waste, the omission on the solid waste capital expenditure will lead to challenges to invest in solid waste infrastructure, Chair, which infrastructure is critical for our collection, sorting, transportation and disposal of solid waste. I should add, Chairperson, that currently we are generating over 1.2 million tons of solid waste in Lusaka alone per month. That is quite high, and our collection efficiency is just around 40%, which means that 60% of that solid waste remains uncollected, and part of the bigger problem there is our inadequate infrastructure to collect, transport and dispose the solid waste. The omission on fire and rescue capital expenditure, Chairperson, will lead to our limited capacity to respond to emergencies leading to loss of public and property, private property. And the rescue services, Chairperson, that we provide include sometimes extremely fatal road accidents as well as marine accidents. In terms of reduced capitalization grant for the local authorities superannuation fund, from 400 million to 182 million will lead to our inability to clear all outstanding pension liabilities in local authorities. The reduced allocation towards recurrent departmental charges, Chairperson, from 62 million to 35 million will lead to limited capacity for the ministry to provide administrative and technical support to local authorities to execute or implement key government programs such as the CDF and of course the devolved functions. Chairperson, the devolved functions require a lot of hand-holding support. As you may be aware that this is a completely new phenomenon that has brought about structural shock to the local authorities. All of a sudden they have 14 additional functions in addition to their traditional functions to execute on behalf of central government. So in the medium to long term they require a lot of hand-holding support from the ministry until they settle down. Chairperson, as I'm gravitating towards the end, allow me to discuss the link between the medium-term budget plan and the 2026 budget and the national development plans. The ministry recognizes the critical need for the budget plans and the budget to align to the national development plans for sustainable development. The ministry's budget links very well with all the 4 pillars of the 8th National Development Plan. The ministry has also ensured that the integrated development plans or IDPs for local authorities and their respective annual budgets are also in line with the 8th National Development Plan. Just for the information of the committee, Chairperson, the CDF Act number 1 of 2024 has also made it legally mandatory that all the CDF projects that are being implemented in respective authorities should align with the integrated development plans, and which in turn align with the national development plan. Chairperson, in the medium term, the ministry has planned the following programs and projects. Number 1, construction of stormwater drainages in major cities and towns to avert flooding. Number 2, construction and rehabilitation of modern markets and bus stations that meet the needs of traders. Number 3, construction and rehabilitation of rural infrastructure such as crossing points. Number 5, construction of infrastructure for fire rescue services as well as for solid waste management, including rehabilitation. And number 6, procurement of equipment for the fire service and for solid waste management. Number 7, initiation of rural development projects. Number 8, continued implementation of the Zambia Devolution Support Program, which program is supported by the World Bank. And number 8, improved utilization of the CDF and other government grants. And number 9, completion of ongoing Chiefs Palace construction. And number 10, improved revenue generation capacity for local authorities. In terms of challenges in the medium term, Chairperson, we anticipate that unresolved local authority debt situation for both local authorities will continue due to our reduced capacity to dismantle the same. We anticipate continued flooding in cities like Lusaka as a result of poor drainages. We anticipate damage to local infrastructure due to climate change, as much of the infrastructure that was developed in years back did not factor climate resilience. We anticipate widening local authority wage gap bill due to continued recruitment and static local government equalization allocation. We anticipate limited trading spaces due to static allocation for markets and bus stations throughout the medium-term budget plan period. In terms of recommendations, Chairperson, in view of the foregoing, the Ministry recommends as follows: that number 1, the Treasury reconsiders its position and allocation and allocate some funds to critical budget lines such as construction of stormwater drainages. Chairperson. Otherwise, we'll be taking you every rain season there to go and make pronouncements. After rain season, then we forget. I think we cannot continue that trajectory. So we are making a passionate appeal that this particular line should be reconsidered. Of course, accompanied to that is the issue of solid waste management, because once we drain Lusaka dry and other flooding areas in the country, then we must keep them clean, and that speaks to solid waste management. And of course, fire services. We also recommend that the Treasury considers increasing the allocation for market and bus stations. We also recommend that the Treasury considers maintaining the LASIF financing gap at 400 million. Also, that the Treasury considers its decision to cut the allocation for recurrent departmental charges, as this will inhibit the Ministry's capability to provide hand-holding support to local authorities. We also recommend that the Treasury considers the introduction of an administrative component for the monitoring of implementation of key government programs such as Constituency Development Fund, just like local authorities have that component. In conclusion, Chairperson, the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development acknowledges the fiscal challenges the Treasury is facing and stands ready to support it by ensuring prudent use of the allocated funds. The Ministry Chairperson, however, appeals that the Treasury reconsiders its decision to remove some of the key expenditure lines, as the Ministry plays a vital role in the lives of people, and this is the reason why it was renamed from the Ministry of Local Government and Housing to the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. Chairperson, I thank you. I submit.
Please switch off your mic, sir. Thank you very much. Honorable Kambon, that will be the first one. Kaflafta, Mabeta, in that order.
Thank you very much. Good morning, PS. Yeah, my name is Harry Kambon, Member of Parliament for Kalomo Central. You mentioned the getting revenue from property rates. Now the property rates, the formulas have been very different place to place. And my constituency, Kalomo, is the highest in the country. You would find for a property that you pay 400 kwacha here in Osaka, in Kalomo you're going to pay a lot of money. By the end of the year, maybe they'll be demanding 30,000 kwacha, which actually the rent you can get from the building is less than the property rate. And 3 years ago, the Minister of Finance announced in the budget about that the property rate formula will be the same throughout the country. And your ministry has not implemented that up to today. As I'm talking in Kaoma, people were sent, they were supposed to be sent bailiffs, a lot of people. And it's the MP who said, hold on, we'll resolve that issue. In Kalomo, where I'm coming from, there are a lot of bailiffs are waiting now to trample on a number of people. It has become difficult to do business, even to build. Choma filling station will pay 4,000. You come to the same filling station for the same period in Kalomo, you are paying above 40,000. So what has been so difficult, my question now, if the finance minister announces that the property rate formula for the whole country will be the same, and that was Honorable Musokotwane, why has it been very difficult for your ministry to implement that? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, for giving me the opportunity to ask the PS question. My question, I'll drag you outside the box because I've been bothered tremendously as I drive around. Some of your road signage seem to be completely out of place. I'll give you one or two examples. When you are at the roundabout at Arcades, you're coming from town and you want to proceed to Munali. Just as you complete the roundabout, there is a zebra crossing there. And it really doesn't add up to me, because how do you come out of a roundabout and there's a zebra crossing? And some of your zebra crossings in positions where motor vehicles are supposed to be stopping or giving way, and again, this is something that, if not properly done, might cause either people not obeying road rules or cause accidents as we go on. And then you've talked about drainages here, and I don't know, and I know my fellow MPs will agree with me. Along Tawambeki Road, that road, there's been that filthy water for, I think, the past 3 years. The other year, actually, we were made to move from Parliament and move to that hotel and so on. But just that road gives a very bad stench, and that water has been there for the past 3 years. Do some of you drive along that road? Because maybe I'm the only one that drives along that road and I see these anomalies. So do you really consider making corrections of the wrong signage that we have on our roads? And there is a law now that when a minibus driver stops to pick a passenger where there is no designated station, the minibus driver must pay 300 kwacha. The one who is getting on the bus must pay 300 kwacha. But there are certain places where you will find you go in a township for more than 3 kilometers and there is no bus stop. And in the end, when a minibus driver stops, they are breaking the law. Do you consider to ensure that our road signage and every other item that is needed on the road are attended to? I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chair. PS, thank you for your presentation. However, I strongly believe the purpose of this meeting is for us to have a deep understanding of your financial gaps. You want to really know whether the amounts are being allocated to are enough for you to carry out your activities. So on page 3, I've seen that listed a lot of items without any figures attached to them. Hence, it becomes very difficult for this committee to appreciate what you're looking for. If you're looking for construction of stormwater drainage in major cities, town, to avoid flooding, how much are you looking for? It becomes easy for us to present or maybe to debate on your behalf to understand your financial gaps. So most of those items listed, they have no attached amount, which we'd want to know. Then also on the budget for township roads, I haven't seen any program for township roads because these are very critical for the improvement of our districts where we come from. More especially that we tend to see more works being done in other districts where there are ministers, but in districts where there are just backbenchers, there are no township roads being done. So I think most of us would want to know the criteria being used to select towns where the township roads are being done, or other towns where there are no ministers, the township roads are very bad. And thank you.
Yes, you may answer those questions.
Thank you very much, Chair. I will respond to some questions and I will ask my Director for Road Development to supplement where I would not have responded to. So, Honorable Maleta says we are doing roads where there are ministers. Maybe, Chair, for the sake of the record, that is not the position. Actually, I can confirm, Chair, that we are doing 10 kilometers in what is that town on the Copper Belt? In Luansha, where there is no minister. I think there's a backbencher there. So that is not the position. Honorable Maleta, we are also doing a little bit of paving in Nyimba town itself. We don't have a minister there. And of course there are also several other areas where people need roads and we have not been able to provide. But as to the allocation for roads, my director will speak to that particular matter. Allow me to provide insight to what Honorable Kamboni raised. I think Honorable Kamboni is speaking to issues of property rates, which, Chair, I didn't touch in my submission, but since the question has come and the ministry has the mandate over property rates, I will still provide insight to that. And in providing insight, I wish to acknowledge first and foremost that yes, there's been an exponential increase in property rates in a way that, if not properly managed, has potential to stifle businesses, especially the small and micro businesses, the startups. And so in view of that, the ministry did provide guidance to the local authorities to ensure that they operate under the principle of providing a conducive environment for business to thrive without stifling their own fiscal capacity to provide municipal services. And of course that balance is difficult. But what we have done is to guide that the local authorities should engage the property owners, residential and commercial, under the provision under the Rating Act called remissions. The local authorities are able to provide remissions so that they agree on a win-win situation with property owners. Win-win situation that will allow business to thrive and also allow local authorities to provide those fiscal to provide services. The ministry has gone further to request that every month there's going to be a review with local authorities to ensure that the implementation of that guidance is adhered to. So I wish to give assurance to the Honorable Committee and to Honorable Company that that process has started in earnest, and very soon there will be the revision of the rates. I must hasten, Chairperson, also to mention that the guidance provided by the Minister of Finance that we should use the same formula across the country has been adhered to. The formula is the same. The difference, though, are the parameters that they feed into the valuation of that property to arrive at a figure. And with the amendment of the Act in 2020, I think, where equipment and machinery was brought into the rating formula, that is what has pushed the rates, especially in commercial ventures, over the roof. However, we are determined to ensure that property rates do not kill business. As I conclude on this particular matter, this is the reason why I think the grants in lieu of rates has been increased. This grant, Chairperson, in lieu of rates is a grant that government provides to local authorities for the local authorities not extracting property tax from government buildings. And in the past 5 years or so, this rate has remained constant. But you agree with me, Chairperson, that government has the biggest number of properties across the country. So when government is not paying property tax and the grant in lieu of rates is not increased, then there's a financing gap in local authorities. But with the increase now in property rates, in the lieu of rates, in the grant in the lieu of rates, we think that this will give relief for local authorities to lower down the property rates. Maybe the last point, Chair, on this particular matter is that for the longest period of time we've been using traditional methods to count property. This is where the evaluator or the valuer will go around, count 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's not practically feasible, Chairperson, to count how many properties. So the end result, we ended up having very few property on the valuation roll against the potential valuable properties. And because there were very few, the tendency by local authorities was to overtax the few to compensate for the many that are not on the stream. We have changed that particular approach now. We are digitalizing the evaluation process so that we can capture as many property as possible and thereby bring down the poundage or the rates at which these properties are paying. So Honorable Member for Kaflafuta raised the issue of the signage, so my Director R&D will respond to that particular matter. But on the issue of the Tabombek, Honorable, this is the same. So you and I are speaking the same, you and the ministry are speaking the same language. We drive through that road. We are actually aware Tabombek is not even in the west, MP. If we went to Kanyama Mrs. George compound, you really have drainages there that are in a terrible state. And the point we must all appreciate is that this status will not change unless and until we invest into it. Of course, the ministry now has a deliberate policy that when we design a road, it comes as a total package. We do a road, we'll do drainages, we'll do street lighting, we'll do walkways. So it comes as a total package. But for those roads that were done before this policy shift, we must invest in this infrastructure. And this is the $1 billion I was talking about, that if we invested over a period of 25 years, then we'll be able to address Tabombek among others. But if now we are reducing the amounts, we are not releasing the little amounts that have been put in there, then 25 years from now we should be discussing Thabo Mbeki. So I don't know whether I've answered your question, but the issue is we don't have the money to push into Thabo Mbeki, and Thabo Mbeki representing many other drainages around Lusaka. Director, maybe you can tackle the issue of signage and also township roads.
Thank you.
Thabo Mbeki, you don't need the money there. It's just a sewer which is blocked there. All you need to do is just unblock the sewer line.
Chair, I don't wish to go into the technical discussions, but Thabo Mbeki, up until early this year, was more complicated than just unblocking the sewer, because remember the drainage is a network which is connected to the rest of the infrastructure. So we had a problem with arcades. Thankfully, Arcades Properties invested half of the money. We also invested half of the money, and then we did the main drain, the vein of that drain. Now Thabo Mbeki, apart from unblocking the drainages, also has a small column. It means serious expansion, and the water from Thabo Mbeki is not just coming from Thabo Mbeki. It has a source where it is coming from. So it's a whole lot vein right up to mass media that we need to excavate, expand, and modify, connect to the main drain. So it's a bit more complex than just unblocking. But yes, for a short-term relief we can unblock, but where the flood is overwhelming, where the waters are overwhelming, we would not have resolved anything. The point, Chair, is we need money to invest into this infrastructure. I submit.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, PS, for giving me this opportunity to explain a bit. I will just supplement, first of all, on what PS has touched on the sewer problem that is flowing along the Thabo Mbeki drainage. The challenge is the pipe network that is coming from Unza was originally designed for a certain number of people. Now, the population at Unza has increased, so that capacity is inadequate to carry that sewer from Unza. Secondly, the issue of power outages. There's a pump there which is supposed to be pumping the sewer. Because of power outages, they are unable to pump, the Lusaka Water and Sewage Company, to pump that sewer. Hence it overflows into the drain. But I must mention that the Minister of Education is aware of the challenge, and at the meeting with our Minister of Local Government in trying to resolve the issue. Just like the PS said, what is required is the money. Now, coming to the selection of the roads, Honorable Member, I must mention that we have basically we look at two fronts in picking which towns to start with. We plan to start with the provincial capitals in terms of upgrading, rehabilitation and upgrading of the township roads. Secondly, we look at historical information. There are some towns that were covered in terms of rehabilitation and upgrading of selected township roads. So those that have never experienced, maybe they took longer before the new program comes in, we prioritize them. That's what I can say when it comes to the selection of which towns to start with the program. But this is a continuous process. We phase them. When the first phase is done, we go into the second phase. So when we go into the second phase, we look at those towns that did not benefit from the first phase. Then for the zebra crossings, thank you so much, Honorable Member. We'll look at it and advise the Lusaka City Council to adjust accordingly. Thank you very much.
A follow-up question?
Yes. Yeah, just a follow-up question, Chairman. So, I just want to comment on the issue of the storm drainages. Just 2 weeks ago,
myself as chairperson of the Committee on Local Governance, on the floor of the House, we were presenting an audit report on housing, on the audit report on the construction, rehabilitation and maintenance of urban and peri-urban drainages, just some 2 weeks ago on the floor of the House. And the conclusion of that report was very clear that, and I read, the recommendation was that government should seriously consider to provide funding for storm drainages to address this problem. So we spent the entire 15 days with my committee deliberating on this issue, and what is coming out is that in the medium-term budget plan, the storm drainages, their money has been omitted. So through the chair, you guide us whether we wasted our time.
Honorable, I'm sure that's what
in agreeing to what they are presenting.
I'm sure that's what it be burning here. That in the medium term, funds have not been provided. I'm sure you agree with what he's saying. So answer, Chairman.
The Chairman has answered.
I'm just on the right note. You may continue with your answer. You are through.
No, I think I remained with one. Yes, thank you so much, Honorable Member, for that question. I must mention that the budget for the urban...
all of these items are listed. Want to know what...
Order, Mumavita. Order.
Thank you so much, Chair. These are the plans, but we can provide the estimated costs for the next 5 years. I submit.
Okay, the next set of questions will be Honorable Mavenga, Honorable Mutinta, Gino Stwala, and Honorable Sveso.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just want to find out whether you had an opportunity to sit down with your counterpart at the Ministry of Finance, because some of these issues, definitely two of you could have found answers to these, rather than just probe, such that when you come here, it's supposed to you have consulted with the PS, local government, finance. This is what they're able to give. Now, what I want to find out again from you is, the councils, they're supposed to make their own money. They should not depend on the government, because if you look at these cities like Lusaka, there are a lot of money which they can raise a lot of money. Just Cairo Road itself, it will raise this more than 16 billion which you have, or 6.5 billion which you have indicated here. If you look at Ndola, you look at
Honorable Mavenga, we are running out of time. Can you raise your question?
Yeah, my question, Chair, is the innovations which the local government is doing to raise more funds. And also, if you look at the submission, CDF also is missing in the report. I don't know what is the reason for that. Thank you.
Honorable Mtinta.
Thank you so much, Chairman and PS with your team. Mine is on the completion of ongoing Chiefs Palace construction. You have demonstrated that there is continued commitment to manage this construction process. PS, I'm sure you are aware that constituencies like it is with 6 chiefs. To date, we are still struggling with 1 chiefdom. So, with the pace we are moving, for all those chiefs to have their chiefdoms constructed, it will take, meaning it will take 10 years or 15 years for all the 6 to be complete. Are you able to tell us what is happening, PS? Does it mean the prisons, the correction services have failed? Because in the public domain, what they know is that it's CDF which is implementing, and they are pestering the MP, pestering the council, when that money is sitting in your ministry. Kindly clarify when this issue will be managed properly. It's not being managed properly, and there's a lot of apprehension amongst the chiefs and the communities on how we are managing. How are we going to do it in the coming year in a more effective and accountable manner? Thank you.
Mike. General Australia.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much. The PS and the team, we are welcome. General Australia, representing the good people of Kawama Central. With your permission, Chair, just maybe 2 clarification, and the first one is coming from what is indicated on page 2. I'm sorry I missed the first part because I was in another committee. If I'm asking a question that has already been asked, please, Chair, you may excuse me and explain a little later. My first comment, or what I want to hear from the PS, is on this equalization fund, which I see here stands at 1.4. I'm wondering, PS, and I don't know whether you are following, we seem to have a trend that is worrying in some councils already. We are going 2 months down without your workers at the council getting paid, and this, I'm afraid, will impact on some mismanagement of resources in the councils as it used to be before. What really is going on? Why are some councils taking up to 2-3 months without their workers being paid, and yet other councils are managing? Your comment, and maybe also a bonus one, which is not here, is something that is worrying all of us, the members of parliament, is on these announcements, the PS, which you keep on putting up on rating of councils, and in the end, as MPs get embarrassed. Transparency, wherever they get this information from, you don't know, you ask the councils, they have never been in your council, maybe someone just rang, and then you are told the council is at the tail end, is just 23%, without really having gone on the ground to check to see what you've done. Some of us, the constituencies are deep in the rural areas. For any rating to be meaningful, we need these organizations or your office PS to come on the ground and see actually what is there. And right now that issue goes with the worrying issue of the payments of the same CDF. We are having so many varieties. Right now I've got some pending requests. CDF in my council is completely finished. I have not received the funds. So how do you rate a council to not have done very well when the funds have not been given, and yet maybe another council has done better? I would further request that in your next funding, please ask for information. Some of the councils have not received not a single way in 2025, and yet today as we sit is July. They are still only 2024. Not because they have not used the money, but you've not paid them. So maybe your comment on these 2 issues, PS. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Chairperson, and thank you so very much, local government. My name is Sivesoka Komasefolo. I'm Member of Parliament for Mondi constituency in the Western Province. My question in regards to what the presentation that has been done is an observation in regards to the works that are being carried and what we can also do to make sure that those works are sustained. You know, I saw Cash for Work doing so many works in Lusaka, where, you know, the government, you know, people clean drainages. You go back 3 days after, the drainages are again clogged. One of the challenges that we've had in regards to drainage system in Zambia, or in particular Lusaka, is not that drainages are clogged because they're not that wide, but it's because people dump waste there in the drainages. You find that they are cleaned, in 2 weeks the drainages again are clogged. So as a ministry, what are we doing in regards to sensitization? And funny enough, the same Zambians that dump waste on the drainages here or on the roads finds that the car is passing and someone just opens the window and they're throwing out. You take them, they travel on a bus to South Africa. If they're on a bus in South Africa, they know that they aren't supposed to do that. They'll keep the litter and find a bin. So what are we doing in making sure that the sensitization really is done, especially even to the children that are still young? They need to be inculcated at a younger age to realize that it's not okay to, to just litter anyhow. Everywhere, not everywhere, but most of the places that, we did cash for work, they were cleaned for 3 days. After 3 days, back the same issue. So what are we doing in regards to sensitization to making sure that the works that we're doing are carried forward instead of us budgeting for the same kind of works over and over again? I submit.
Thank you, Honorable Professor. PS, you may answer.
Yeah, quite a couple of things, but I will endeavor to briefly touch on each one of them. So, did we sit down with the Minister of Finance to compare notes? Chairperson, I wish to report that the budget hearings are going to start in the next 2 weeks, and once they start, they provide us a platform through which we exchange this information, and appropriate adjustments may be made if need be. CDF is missing in the report. I didn't quite understand, Chairperson, what that meant, so I will skip this particular one. The construction of chiefs' palaces, what is going on, what is the plan? Chairperson, I wish to put it on record that indeed we still have challenges in completion of the chiefs' palaces. When we started the program in 2024, in our planning, we were of the idea that within 1 year, those particular palaces could be complete. However, when we went into the practical implementation, I think there were a number of issues that emerged. First of all, some areas were difficult to access. Then we had capacity issues with the various contractors, and at some point we had some funding challenges, and so on and so forth. What I need to put on record, Chairperson, is that we have since cleaned our house, and our projection is that by the end of December this year, the phase 1, which had about 120 palaces, will be complete, and then next year, 2026, we are going to go into the phase 2. In going to the phase 2, Chairperson, we have picked lessons from the phase 1, and we hope that when it comes to contractor selection and management, we are going to be a bit more efficient. The idea, Chairperson, is that we finish the palaces for all the chiefs at least by 2027. Here we are talking about 286 chiefs across the country. So just to assure you that for those that started in 2024, we will be able to complete them this year. Overall, at national level, we are at about 70% completion. In respective provinces, others are at 95%, close to 100%. So we should be able to complete this year, the phase 1. On source revenue, Chairperson, I couldn't agree more with the honorable member of the committee, who observed, and rightly so, that on source revenue could come in handy to supplement on the local government equalization fund. I think the spirit in which we made this presentation, Chairperson, is to recognize that there are local authorities that can stand on their own. Lusaka is one of those. Kalumbila, Solwezi, Kitwe, among others. Ndola, among others. But there are also local authorities, Chairperson, that cannot be completely weaned off from government, central government support. So what the ministry is doing now, two things. One is to leverage on technology to enhance on-source revenue. And we have targeted the first big 6, which includes Lusaka, to increase their on-source revenue. The second thing we have done is we are systematically weaning them off from the local government equalization fund, so that we can then begin to support local authorities that even if they did everything in their own capacity, they may not be able to raise their revenue from their own sources by virtue of geographical disadvantages. Chairperson, there was a question around some local authorities are going for months without paying arrears. Yes, we are aware about that. If you trace back 2 years ago, this was not the situation. But what happened? What happened, Chair, was that the drought of 2024-2025 did affect especially the rural councils, their capacity to raise revenue from grain, the grain levy and other things that are taxable at local level. And this was very prominent in Nyimba, Katete, I think Kapiri, and all those agricultural domiciled local authorities. And because of the drop in the revenue, it created a gap in the wage bill. And what the minister has been trying to do is to supplement, to close that gap through the grants in lieu of rates, but also the local government equalization fund. Our projection, Chairperson, is that by the time we hit December, we should be able to close that wage gap and normalize the funding in the councils. We do not wish to go back to those days where council workers went for months and months without pay. Then there was a question on cost for work. People do the cleaning 3 days later, there's dirty. So what are we doing to sensitize? There are multiple things, Chairperson, we need to address. The first is our capacity to collect. Remember, Chairperson, I did submit in this committee that of the 1.2 million tons of garbage that we generate, we are only collecting per day, we are only collecting 40%, which means 60% remains uncollected. Why uncollected? We did not have the infrastructure, the transportation infrastructure to collect this. So we have bought tractors now, 10 tractors for Lusaka at least, to address that issue. In terms of sensitization, Cabinet just approved the Keep Zambia Clean, Green and Health Master Plan, which we are starting to implement, and we also launched the Keep Zambia Clean and Green communication strategy. So those are the things that we have put in place in terms of sensitization. The last issue, Chairperson, is our performance announcements.
Honorable Mavenga, one meeting.
Yeah. Thanks. Sorry, Chair.
Sorry.
The last issue was not really the last. The second last was the issue of the funding of the CDF. Chairperson, we are aware about that. We are in discussion with the Minister of Finance. As a matter of fact, this week, the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Local Government are meeting to harmonize this particular funding of councils. I think the mopping up of funds and trying to run a cash basis funding was well intentioned, but in implementation, in reality, it may not have worked the way it was intended. So clearly we need to revisit the cash management for the CDF. So that goes without saying. The last issue, Chairperson, about the performance of local authorities. Chairperson, I wish to put it on record that the ministry will continue to publicize the performance of local authorities on the CDF, on the Equalization Fund, and on any other central government fund that goes to the local authorities from every quarter. What we had last week was just end of the first half of the year. Now, the information that we publicize, Honorable Chairperson, is not generated by the ministry headquarters. This is information that is submitted to the ministry by the user units, in this case the local authorities. Otherwise, how do I sit in the ministry and predict that of the 2 million I gave you, you used 1 million and 1 million is in your account? How do I know that? Unless you give me a return and a bank statement. So that information comes from the user units. That's number one. Number two, the percentage performance is calculated on the basis of what you received, not budgeted. So if you did not receive anything, we will not include you on the performance. But if you received even one ngwe, we will include you on the performance. So that particular performance assessment has been received with mixed feelings, but I can assure you, Chairperson, it is well intended and it will continue as such, because we have to be accountable in the manner we are using public resources. And it's not an indictment on the members of parliament. It is an indictment on us, the technocrats who are implementing government programs. So I think the position, Chairperson, is that in October, on the 15th of October, we are giving another third quarter review of the performance of CDF based on the disbursements. The Office of the Auditor General right now is also in the constituencies doing a performance assessment, and in January, second week of January, we are publicizing another performance report for the whole year. As I conclude, Chairperson, we are now going further to publish the performance of each local authority, not hidden in the district, in the province. Because, for example, you take Lusaka district, Luangwa had 100% performance, but when you take as a province as a whole, it is hidden in the province because the province has done 6%. So we are going ahead now to even show how each local authority is performing. Chairperson, I submit.
Please, thank you very much. We are behind time. We thank you for having come. At this point, I revoke the capital which we had given to you. Please, I know you can help. We are behind time, sir. Sorry. We are not able to continue. Yes, we still have another witness.
Yeah, this is more important than
sorry, unfortunately, we cannot do that. Sorry, unfortunately, we are beyond time. PS, thank you very much. Our capital has been revoked. Have a good day.
The station that is dedicated to bringing Parliament closer to you. So two witnesses have made submissions to the committee that is looking at the midterm budget plan 2026 to 2028, and this is the expanded planning and budgeting committee. Earlier on, we just listened to a submission from the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, and before that there was yet another submission by the Ministry of Education. The last witness for today in the committee is the Ministry of Agriculture, making its submission to the expanded planning and budgeting committee, which is considering the midterm budget plan 2026 to 2028. Stay tuned to Parliament TV as we continue bringing Parliament closer to you.